Package Your Brilliance Series. My name's Stacy Walker.
I'm Deborah Anderson.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you're here with us, Kristen. And Kristen, can you share who you are, what you do, and how you help people?
Right. So first of all, thank you for inviting me onto this series. I'm very, very excited to be here and share my knowledge that I've gleaned over the last couple of decades. I am a virtual assistant. I live in Minnesota, and I help clients from California to New Jersey to Florida, and actually a couple here in Minnesota as well. So how I help my clients is really taking things off their plate that could truly waste their time and not allow them to focus on growing their business. And in actuality, that is my passion is. That's where my passion lies. I love doing the stuff. Love organizing, coordinating. I do delegating, and I've outsourced as well.
I love it. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, and thank you for what you do, because I tell you, I know for a fact my business wouldn't have grown without, someone that loves doing those things. And it's so easy to get caught up in the tedious stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, we're building businesses. There's only so much we can do. And I think it's just the smartest thing that we can do is pass work on to someone that not only loves to do it, but most likely can do it better. Most likely can do it better. Yeah, that's a big one right there. So today's topic is going to be about delegation and outsourcing tips to accelerate your success. So, Kristen, where would you like to start off this topic?
Well, actually, I'd just like to take it back about 21 years, actually.
Okay.
When I first got my experience with outsourcing, I actually worked for a staffing agency. And I saw so many human resource departments needing help. There's so much time spent wading through applications and resumes and trying to figure out where they could place people and needed people. And I saw it, but I didn't see big picture. And that is when actually I started my virtual assistant business back in 2003, because I didn't fully understand outsourcing. And for a couple of years, I did my own thing. I did the networking. I did the meets and the greets and the introduction calls and the public speaking. And then I went to Express and I took over the administrative division. And that is where I truly saw the need for outsourcing. The time that an HR department takes to go through all those things was passed off to me so that they could do the things that were more important to the business. And so there's a difference between outsourcing and delegation. Outsourcing, you're hiring somebody from outside the business generally to take over the tasks that could normally be done inside. Delegating, which is fun also, is where you normally give somebody tasks within the company. I do have one employee and I get pretty good with delegating. Yeah, so I have someone that works for me full time, and she gets a list of things that are on my plate that take up just too much time, that are kind of those mundane, mindless things that do need to be done, no matter what. There's not a question.
Love it. So for those that are new to this whole thing, what tips do you have for them when it comes to like getting started?
The first tip that I would share is to take a look at how you spend your days. And a lot of times that means putting your time into different quadrants. What's important and needs my priority, what's important but I can put off for a little bit. The lists that you think needs to be done, and once you look at them, probably doesn't need to be done right away by yourself. And they also could be done by somebody else. And I'm going to tell a quick story, if that's all right, that where this really hit home for me. In 2017, I took a giant leap from the corporate world and opened my own coffee house. So I started the business from ground up, from the health departments and the kitchen equipment and the training And there's when I decided I need to outsource. I put in my own floor. The health department came in, it was the wrong floor. So I had to tear up everything that I thought I knew, and I had to hire it done. I should have never attempted. So even when you think you understand everything, and it depends on if you're doing a brick and mortar business like that was, or if you're sitting at home in your living room, like I am now. But to further that story, in 2018, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so I had a long talk with myself. Can I outsource the coffee house and find somebody to take it on for me? Do I delegate this to my two daughters that are old enough? How do I handle this? And not knowing what my journey would be, I ultimately chose to shut it down. And I'm thankful for that at this point in time, just because of the pandemic. But also, while I was in recovery is when I built the virtual assistant business. And that's where I've truly discovered how many people are looking to outsource the little things. And so I've built over the last year and a half this wonderful business based on outsourcing. And then I do the delegation on the inside.
Best of both worlds.
Right.
I love that. What a great story, Kristen, because we really have to ask ourselves some important questions, because can our business survive? Can our business function without us? Because there can be a day that we can get sick. There could be a day when just anything can happen, right? I mean, of course, we never know what can happen, because life is full of surprises, right? And for those of you that are watching and listening, like, this is something that you really want to think about. And Kristen's like giving you like something to think about before anything happens, right? It's like planning ahead of time, especially if you have a big vision, right? A big vision. It's like, why not get it off on the right foot? I think one of the biggest questions that pops up, or maybe a thought comes up for a lot of people, is like, I don't have the money. What do you have to share when it comes to that?
First of all, don't sell yourself short. So I see so many people starting businesses, and they're either not charging the right amount, or they're not putting together the correct packages. They're not getting paid for what they do. So first and foremost, take a good look at what you're putting together in regard to your business and price it right. And then set some of it aside, because you never know. Like, I did not know I was going to be hit by the cancer truck. And we don't have a lot of money starting up. Most people don't. If you do, that's super, that's great. Set it aside for a rainy day. Something our parents we've all heard from our parents, set it aside for a rainy day. But also plan for your growth so that you can hire or outsource when necessary. And that doesn't mean bringing somebody on as an employee. Outsourcing a lot of times is contract work, so it's project based. So someone does not need to necessarily set aside a year's worth of salary to hire somebody.
Ooh, that is so good. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing this. And I couldn't agree with you more. Don't sell yourself short, especially when it comes to how much you're charging for your products or services, because I agree with you.
Right. Know your value, know your worth.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love everything that you're sharing. So what if they're like, I don't know what I want to give away first? What are your recommendations?
What do they want to give away first?
As far as like passing it along to somebody to delegate
the task.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The stuff that takes up the most amount of time, that requires the littlest amount of skills. And that's not a bad thing. They have bigger business owners of larger manufacturing plants or clinics and that sort of thing. They have bigger things to focus on. So outsource the littler things, the social media, the database updates, the PowerPoint presentations, all the things that just chew up their amount of time. And it is not helping the revenue or the bottom line whatsoever for them to sit and do that themselves.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, that is awesome. Okay, I got another question.
Sure.
What if they're like, well, I don't know what to look for in a VA, or what do you have to share about that?
Well, virtually people can work from anywhere. So nowadays, I don't think you need to think a lot about location. Everything is done over the internet. There are so many websites, there's so many organizations that they could join to find someone. I'll just share that I got a call the other day from California, and a gal who owns a rental property needed help. And she said, I wanted a nice person from the Midwest. And so I researched Midwest virtual assistants. Well, that's my business name. So of course I popped right up. And there's just, if you have something in mind, look for it online. But make sure you vet the skills well enough. There are so many people out there just trying to do the side hustle, and that's great. I started mine as a side hustle, but the experience needs to be there, because otherwise the time you were wasting turns into you paying somebody else for them wasting time. So make sure the experience and the knowledge is there, is my biggest tip on that one.
I love how you mentioned culture, because I mean, that's such a thing. I also grew up in Minnesota, and everything was about, if you have any time or strength to do this work, do this rather than paying someone to do it. So you're not wasting money. And so I had that in my mind, and pretty soon I'm working 23 hours a day, and it's like, this isn't quite right. So I love how you explain the outsourcing and the delegation. Great explanation. Thank you, Kristen.
Common pitfalls people make when it comes to delegating and outsourcing.
The most common pitfall would be becoming a micromanager. If you are going to outsource and you are going to delegate, do that and let it alone. Give enough direction so the person who's doing the work understands what you need done, and then check in when it's agreed upon to check in, but leave them alone. That is the biggest pitfall, and that will lead to rehiring, re-outsourcing, because someone will get frustrated.
I think that's an important message. Like, we need to learn how to trust,
Yes.
be in a full trust, and unless that person shows you otherwise, right? Unless that person shows you otherwise. But I think being in total trust and not micromanaging frees up your headspace, like, for real. That way you can focus on what you need to focus on.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you're gonna, and I just recently experienced this, if you're gonna micromanage, you might as well do it yourself, because you're wasting as much time watching the other person work. Then go ahead and do it.
Yes, and that's honest. And you know what? I mean, if it was, I remember when I worked in corporate, I didn't like being micromanaged. So I can only imagine, how that would feel. Like, I don't micromanage anyone. I like, do your thing. You know better than I do. I'm gonna trust you until you show me otherwise. So the women that are a part of this series, that are attending this series, like, they're wanting to package their brilliant idea into an actual product or service. So during this phase of, development, where could a VA help with this process?
Well, certainly I do a lot of consulting just because of my background too. And so I love being a sounding board to anybody who wants to start a new business. And it always helps with somebody with different eyes, outside eyes, who sometimes doesn't even necessarily know anything about the product or service somebody else wants to start. Sometimes that's even better. But also in the startup phase, virtual assistants, I have helped with business plans, a lot of research. Somebody wants to do a feasibility study, even that sort of thing. So people starting out, there are a lot of things that you can lay abed at night and stay awake thinking about, but there's also a lot that you can get off your plate.
So being a sounding board, research, because I mean, we have to understand who our product or service is for. We have to, like, make sure that we're speaking their language, and there's so much. So I love that you're sharing that a VA can help you in the startup phase too, before you even get
Right.
off the ground, because having a different perspective is just so valuable, like at any stage, but I would say especially the startup phase, especially when
Right.
you don't have any previous knowledge whatsoever. So thank you for that. So many
Sure.
gems today. I love it. Thank you so much. So before we close out, I know there's like so much more, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of questions that are coming up in people's heads that I'm not even thinking of right now, which is okay, because guess what?
Right.
You can connect with Kristen, right? So where can they connect with you online? And then also, I know you have a generous gift for them.
Sure. Sure. Well, I am on LinkedIn. I do have the website. I am totally open to answering emails. I love helping other people. I love making an impact to the point where somebody else can start a business and get going for themselves. And so I will have on my website a nice little white paper on outsourcing and delegation and tips and tricks. And that should, help you make a decision what you should do: outsource, hire, delegate, whatever works.
Love it. Thank you so much for your generosity and support. Like, I know you being a part of this series, it is because you do like helping people. I mean, otherwise you would not be here. So, for those of you watching and listening, if there's any questions coming up, you're curious about Kristen, please reach out to her. We'll make sure that the links are somewhere around this video. If you have any direct questions, reach out to her. She's here to support you. And also, don't hesitate to get her free resource, because that's going to help you not just in the startup phase, but as your business grows. Like, there's so much to learn, and you don't have to do things by yourself at all. Like, no need to do that, right? Like, we want to make sure you do not go on this journey alone, which is why this series was created for you. So, Kristen, before we close out, final words of wisdom for the woman who is still on that fence.
Get off the fence and start it. Stop losing sleep at night, because if you're losing sleep over your idea, most likely it's a good one. And don't give up. Don't live with regret. Try it. And if you fail, that's okay. Failure is just another step towards success. So if you have that idea, go for it.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Kristen. You have been absolutely amazing. So many nuggets of wisdom. For those of you watching and listening, do not hesitate to reach out to her. Again, this series is for you. All
Great.
right, thank you. All
Thank
right,
you for having
everyone.
me.
Yes,
Bye.
and bye.